everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you could join me live. That was a tribute to Miss Oshun, who's guiding our night. She's very closely associated with Venus, and that is the cycle that we are focused on. This is going to be exciting. This is a big deal, let's say, and it's contributing to the social collective big deal. But I'm one of those people that believes if the individuals get it together, the globe will be okay. So we're going to talk about how to support yourself through all this. There will be a recording and follow-up goodies. If you submitted your birth, date, time, and place, then you'll get an extra note from me that's just direct that tells you where this is happening for you personally so that you can, what you learned tonight is happening to all of us, but then you get that follow-up email to find out how it affects you directly. So we're starting with Venus. Now, Venus, of course, is associated with Mars as well. And when Miss Cinnamon gets in here, we might let her contribute what's going on there. But Mars is already in a process of being backwards and recalibrating who we are and what we want. Right now, Venus is about to start a new cycle of values and priorities. Between the two of them, we are going to be new people with new priorities come May, June. So we don't want to make any rash decisions before then. Right now, we're taking in all the information we need to know to navigate this cycle consciously. So she rules essentially our relationships and our resources, but also our magnetic field. So we're going to talk a lot about that tonight as well, how we can calibrate it so that it naturally magnetizes and naturally repels. Whatever's not for you or your highest good, may it naturally bypass you. And then we're going to talk a lot about this star. We're going to start here because this is the rhythm that we're following. And this is something that whether you knew anything about the Venus cycle or not, it has already been affecting you. It's still part of the rhythm. And in every single culture across the world, they honor some form of Venus and this light in the sky and her cycle of morning star and evening star and how that all works. So I'm just realizing now as more people come on that we might want to do a little introduction. I've got a lot of new folks here who might be meeting me for the first time. So let's start at the beginning and then we'll jump into the cycle, y'all. I'm Kelly Beard, the resident astrologer for Ile Urumila Oshun, and that is Yeye's Ile. And then I co-teach with her various classes. I'm particularly focused on the Cracking the Ancestral Code because part of my covenant for being here as a Omo of Oya, ruling my head, is to do grief protocols and to work with people on how to move through life, death, and transformation essentially, and change that comes with being here and being part of this planet. But my focus with astrology is primarily shamanic in that we do ritual. We have a relationship with the sky. Venus is, like I said, something we can see and engage with periodically directly. And at the same time, I'm all about the cycles and patterns. So everything that we're learning tonight is all about the Venus cycle, which is 18 months to 8 years to the biggest cycle, 113 to 130 years. So the one that affects us personally, every 18 months, we upgrade our personal values and priorities in certain ways. We get to renegotiate with those who matter. I think it's kind of like we evolve with Venus every 18 months and Mars every 2 years. So about every 2 years, we're kind of new people and we have new priorities and new purpose going on. And if we moved with it that often, we might get more done, but we also might be more clear about who we are and what we want. Whereas, 2, 4, 6, 8 years go by, now we're looking at that bigger Venus cycle where if you stayed in a job, in a house, in a community, in a relationship for 8 years or more, it's definitely time to renegotiate. This is one of my ways, especially being married over 35 years, to negotiate with my husband instead of going to him and saying, you don't do this anymore, or I don't like this, or I don't like this anymore. I can just be like, it's a new cycle. Can we discuss? Can we talk about this? So with my friends, my family, we get to those phases where there's evolution, we're growing as individuals, and we need to talk about it because family and friends are the main ones that want to hold you in a box wherever they like you. They want you to stay this way because that's the way they fell in love with you. We're constantly changing and evolving. So I always look at it like introducing myself to new people, like, yeah, I used to like that. I used to do that. That used to be fun, but I'm not interested in that anymore. Meet me here. Meet me where I'm at today. And that sometimes we have to tell our closest people that there's been an evolution and that certain fundamental things have shifted. So if we go back to that star, this 5-pointed star that we do, is a pattern that she draws a geometrically perfect 5-pointed star as she moves through the sky. And I always start with Aries because Aries is the beginning, but this is also the cycle that we're moving into right now. What she does is every 18 months, she hits another star point. So right now we're starting in Aries. We're accessing a new identity and purpose. And I'm just going to run through it real quick, and then we're going to go into the deeper parts of it. But what happens is every 8 years, she goes back to this same place in your chart to initiate basically a new you, because Aries is birthing that new individual part of you. Your new purpose for right now, wherever that spark is where Aries is. And when she goes there, it's time to recalibrate our sovereignty within the context of our relationships and communities and things. It's important to check in with how independent and free are you to move the way you want to move through various communities, through your neighborhood, through your life. However you look at that, there's getting an upgrade. And you can see under the Aries Pisces one that the last time it happened was 2017, and before that was 2009. So for our purposes tonight, I want you all feeling into that identity evolution that possibly happened during those years, and know that it's coming back around for 25, 26, where you get to rebirth that. One of the reasons you're seeing the Aries, Pisces, and Scorpio, Libra the way they are, and everybody else is just one, is that she also backs up into the sky. Like, this is her literal track through the sky that we're talking about. And right now, as of 2009, all the way to 2065, so she stays at a star point for a good 40 to 60 years. And then right now, for these years, for our foreseeable future anyway, it's going to be on the cusp. And so one of the things that I'm saying about this is that we have to go into our Pisces intuition to feel what is right timing and right action, and then act on it through our Aries. So there's this water-fire combo that's very creative, and we love it, and we want to work with this consciously. But also Pisces is the culmination. It's ruled by Neptune. It's the womb space where we develop our ideas and then birth them in Aries. So it could be your creative side, your creative ideas and things that are popping and that may be associated with these cycles of evolution. But it could also be your relationships, your finances, how you interact with others, how you allow others to interact with you, and how that honors your true identity, which at the very least evolves every 8 years in a personal way. So we're getting to do this consciously. And then the idea, and let me say this too for introductory purposes, I've been at this since 1999, working consciously with her. I worked in my own journals for the first 8-year cycle. In 2007, I launched the Venus Circle, which is where we've all dived in really deep for this. And there's a workbook that goes with the monthly circle, and you get a special reading and everything that goes with it. But now we follow the cycle, and it's 9 months of release work and 9 months of reclamation work that we do together and we do consciously. So I've been through this cycle a good 2, 3, 4 times already. And I can tell you that the way I've tracked it and seen it, not just in me, but in other people as well, is once we have a new identity, it goes to Scorpio, and now we have new power. And we have access to new creativity and new levels of soul that we go to when she hits Scorpio. And again, as of 2010, all the way to 2058, she'll be on the cusp of Scorpio Libra. So now we're looking at our primary relationships and our intimate partnerships and how those work and how those need to be recalibrated on a regular basis. And again, how we interact with others. You know, Scorpio has a lot to do with sharing resources. And we are all going to have to create our own support systems and communities to survive this crumble and whatever social collective is doing. In order for us to, you know, not in my village, as Oshun would say, we're going to do the best to stay clean and pure. That's the other thing about the Scorpio point. You can't be shady on that one. It's like whatever happens, boomerangs right back. But if we have a new identity and then we get access to new power and possibly some new balance with Libra, then it goes to Gemini. And if you look at the Gemini cycle, 2012, 2020, and most recent one, it's always a huge social upheaval. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that one as well. But after we have the new identity, new power, now we have new options, new possibilities at the Gemini point. There's new choices to be made, but it's hard to ground anything. So then we go to the Capricorn star point, and it tells us to create a structure to make our commitments. We can't be all over the place. Gemini's fun, but we can't live there. And so Capricorn is like, nope, we got to get serious and commit to something that you want to see flourish or thrive for the long term. The other illustration I give is that with Capricorn, we build the foundation and the structure and the bones of like a house. And then it goes to the Leo star point, and that's when we decorate the house. We put our stamp on it. We make it uniquely your own. But in Capricorn, we're going into our wisdom keeper's self. You know, where are the wise decisions and choices that need to be made? What happened with work and resources in particular during 22 and 2014? These cycles that keep circling back. You know, I always say the cycles repeat over and over, but what's different is the sky pattern's different, the people around you different, you different, everything is different. So we get to respond in new ways every time a cycle circles back. And so we go from that Capricorn, you know, let's be organized, let's be committed, let's create some containers for our ideas. You know, as we got created so many possibilities in Gemini, we really needed containers by the Capricorn by 22. And now we're coming out of the Leo star point as we speak, because this cycle doesn't really kick off until March. And so Leo, like I said, we get to this place where, wait a minute, Capricorn's too serious. Where's the love? Where's the fun? Where's the joy? If I don't care, why am I here? Why am I committed? Because a lot of times with Capricorn, we commit for the job or the security or the money or whatever. And that's not always the answer, right? And when we get to the Leo point, we start realizing certain things weren't authentically you. It's a time to express in new ways. So for the last year and a half, a lot of us have been really focused on how we present ourselves to the world. What are you presenting? And I always joke, my pet peeve in the world is people walking around with bedhead and pajamas and slippers like they just rolled out of bed. I don't like that. But I also say, what do you think you're going to attract that day? You're not going to attract the love of your life looking like that. You're not going to attract some new prosperity and possibilities and choices. So what we present is important, but we leave the Leo star point and get to Aries, and Aries don't care what it looks like. We just want to do it. We just want to be it, just want to take action, just want to have the embodied experience, don't want to talk about it, want to actually do it. So there's this aspect that we've looked at over the last year and a half of what do we love, what do we care about. Now we get to prepare to act on it. We're not going to act before May, June, but we're going to prepare for action. And this rhythm just goes over and over, where we access a new identity, which takes us to new power, which takes us to new possibilities, which takes us to new commitments, which brings us back to our true selves and how we're evolving with our own values and priorities. So ultimately, that's what we're looking to do with Venus in general, is to recalibrate, especially during a retrograde. You start asking these questions, you know, how, when, and where do you obligate yourself to others? And is that still relevant and useful at this point? Review the last 18 months and then go bigger. Review the last 8 years. How have you obligated yourself to others, and is it still worth it? Really want to ask that question at every turn. Is this still worth it? Is this person? Is this situation? Is this commitment? Whatever it is. And then how you've spent your resources of time, energy, and money over the last 18 months to 8 years. You want to do your own personal review around that. And I always encourage people, because Venus rules Taurus and Libra. And so Taurus is the earthy side of Venus, where she rules those actual results and creativity, sharing, physical security, creature comforts, resources, money, financial security, embodiment, the value of the body, strength, food, sex, and money are all part of Taurus's whole thing, but it's part of Venus's thing. Sensuality and beauty is part of her essence of being here. That's why I said, if you know Oshun, then you know Venus already. So you're intimately acquainted with this part of her, but it's also a security thing that we're recalibrating at this time, especially with the world crumble. We have to be very vigilant about our personal boundaries. Part of her lingering on this Pisces cusp is speaking to that too. We've had a lot of other energies that have supported us in the last 2 years for anchoring and solidifying and fortifying our relationships with our spirit team and our Orishas and everyone that supports us in our ancestral realm. All of that is going to be more reliable than the humans these days. Okay, just know that. And that's going to give you better information when you go within first. Like I said, that Pisces to Aries means go within and feel what's what. And know that you're asking these questions, you know, how are you doing on your levels of creature comfort? Knowing that this is also very deeply rooted in self-love and self-worth and what you feel worthy of. Safety, quality nutrient, beauty, surroundings, comfortable surroundings. That's all part of her domain that we can call in a new level of every time she retrogrades. And then when she's going through her Libra phase, this is different. The peace, love, and harmony is invisible. It's intangible. And so it's, pretty subjective too. And then some of you have been with me long enough to know this list of mine: the conscious contracts, flourishing friendships, profitable partnerships, reciprocal relationships, creative collaborations. We're calling all this new stuff in at a higher level. And basically, because we do 9 months of release work and then 9 months of reclamation, you're going to clear out anything from your field first before you bring in this next level. So we do both consciously. And I do also talk about that a lot, how there's plenty of teachers and guides and people and healers out there to support you while you do your release work. But I don't see a lot helping you with the reclaim and with what you put back in its place. And when we give up aspects of self and we consciously go to these new levels, then if you don't put something new in it, you're just going to slip right back into your pattern, whatever it is, whether it's relationships or money. We're talking your basic habits and how you function in your day-to-day, because these are personal planets we're going to talk about tonight. And so this part of us, we're still calling in that essence and that balance and reciprocity and kinship that's possible when there is fairness and justice and equal, everyone is at the round table equal, right? No hierarchies and things. And then we go to the big cycle. This is the one I told you I'll circle back to. So I feel blessed because in 2004, I did have a big event for it. Back then it was online conference calls. And in 2012, I was at the Big Island in Hawaii with my Shamanic Astrology mystery school people, and we watched it cross the sun. So when Venus crosses in front of the sun, it only happens every 113 to 130 years. And it just looks like a little black dot going across the sky, but it is so magical energetically. And you can see that we alternate between Gemini and Sag. So that's why I said on her star point that goes to Gemini, this has been serious for so many years of pushing the evolution of human consciousness and the rhythm of culture along, which is also part of her rulership, right? And so we're looking at this as also the dynamic between Gemini Sag is the scientific versus spirituality dynamic that we go back and forth between as humans trying to guide our own lives, right? So when we look at this though, Venus is still at her root all about connection. And that is what we're looking at in these years. And obviously this is pretty Western culture driven, but this is what happened. That first one, the first circumnavigation of the globe, again, we're connecting. We're realizing there's other people that love what we love and want to do what we do. Then it went to the Sag side and we had the first mail service, national, and then it went international, and then we had the World Post. So we've had these evolutions, which I can only say if 2004 to 2012 brought the World Wide Web, the next level's got to be telepathy. What y'all think? I mean, what else can we do after this, right? We're already connected and we get that we're one, but this is part of her bigger cycle, like I said, and we want to bring it back down to individual size, look at the shadow aspects. This is particularly in Aries, but self-imposed exile, rushing development, neediness or needing outer validation, forcing, overgiving to the neglect of self. We're not doing that. Self-preservation is not selfish. It is essential and the first law of nature. So we want to pay attention to that. Self-preservation is going to be up at every turn, y'all. We got to be proactive on our own behalf at every turn. Valuing appearance over substance, not happening. Toxic mimics. When I say toxic mimics, what I mean is that pornography is a toxic mimic of sex and sexuality. Gangs are a toxic mimic of community and support. We have these things out here that are disguised like they're supposed to help, and they're really toxic. So we want to be mindful of where we're putting our energies in that regard as well. And then we're going to come back to these activations. I'm going to stop the share for a minute. So those are the basic cycle things. Like I said, we're resetting and rethinking our physical security, but also how we feel, the energy and essence around us in the beautification and the possibility for an upgrade is going on as we speak with this one. We always, as humans, we seek community. One of the things that happens under this influence is if we feel like we were born to the wrong place or the wrong community or the wrong culture, and how we go seeking that sense of belonging. Venus really rules that and helps us figure out how to love ourselves enough to be ourselves so that that community is magnetized to us automatically, just effortlessly, right? Think Oshun in that magnetic field that just magnetizes what we need. How we relate evolves, as do our values. And one of the things I've been saying too about the bigger cycles in the social collective is we're coming out of 200 years of an agreement that the value was on earth, or your body or physical or money and things like that. Now, as of 2020, we're starting a whole new 200-year cycle in air signs. So now the value, the agreed social value, is on intellectual property or ideas or concepts. And that gets tricky for someone like me that considers himself an elder. You know, I'm part of the earth generation. I still want to be here in my body, but there is an evolution happening. So the most critical reset you want to think about right now is your personal boundaries. And I just finished writing my Neptune in Aries article that I'm going to post. It goes into what this energy that's shifting and how important spiritual boundaries and energetic boundaries are so important right now. Just being mindful of mental, emotional, spiritual boundaries at every turn, because it's coming at you from all different directions. And so however you work your shields, that circle of light bubble meditation we do with Yeye is the bomb. If you know that you can feel into those cycles of the star, and that PDF will be with the goodies and the post-call goodies, so you all can get to that if you want to. But looking at how you've evolved over the last 18 months to 8 years, renewing your creative fire, activating your inner artist. That's something else to think about when she resets like she's doing. And looking at how she's going to go backwards in Aries and forward in Pisces is also something to consider, because it's almost like we have to reset our Aries part so our Pisces part moves more fluidly and more smoothly. And that means your personal boundaries, knowing your nervous system, knowing what you can handle, what kind of frequencies you should be in at any given moment, and not overdoing it, because our systems are already stressed to the max. So you're going to have to be vigilant about your boundaries, because nobody else cares. Okay. Everybody else is just pounding to get your attention for this, that, or the other. And you have to set a boundary. When I do that, I think about the ancestors. When I first opened up and they started coming through, I didn't sleep for 5 years, y'all, because they never shut up. Once they know they got a channel, that's it. And so I finally learned to say, hold on, we're going to close the door on this today, and I'll be back later. And so learning to work these boundaries is going to be crucial to everything you do. Now, what's wonderful about the book has all the tools. Here's the new workbook. We love her. I'm going to pull it up here so that we can look at a couple of things. The archetype that we're working with is the warrior overall. So we definitely should look at the light and shadow list of the warrior, because that's going to help us overall as we survey the present, clear the past, and prepare for the future. On page 17, for those of you who already have yours. And there is, like I said, a special reading that goes with this guide. And then you're set up for the whole 18-month cycle of how she touches your life. And you start to learn how it feels when Venus touches different things in your chart. So when she touches your personal planets, she can make you glow and be very magnetic and attractive. And so a lot of times we want to schedule those parties or date nights and things like that for when you're really glowing, or presentations when you're really glowing. But what happens once you start paying attention to how it feels when she touches you is that if she touches your Saturn or Pluto, it's serious business and you don't have time to play. And you should be alone for those processes. So when you already know that and you get invited out, you can clearly say, no, thank you. It's not time for that for me. I'll catch the next party, or I'll do the next one, because you're in another zone with your values and your priorities. So what I love is that she keeps you on lock so that you're not so easily swayed by the culture or your family, like even your people will get you too, right? So it's not just out there, but we've got to be mindful about resetting ourselves personally in here as well. And so this warrior is going to help us, because all of what's happening is also, like from every angle, doubling down on the spiritual warrior, basically, and how we have to do this a certain kind of way. So we're clearing and releasing any selfishness and self-destructiveness, anger and negative emotions, taking things personally, over emotional and reactive, sleepwalking through life, overthinking, overanalyzing, no self-control, being undisciplined, exile, wandering, or with no purpose, apathy, weakness, and fear, hesitation, inaction, and doubt, lack of adequate boundaries. Like I said, that's what's going to come up over and over, y'all. Chaotic thinking and overwhelm, self-conscious and uncomfortable, ego, narcissism, and cruelty is a big shadow. indecisiveness, being unprepared, withdrawing from life, limited thinking, pettiness, inflexibility, rigidity, distraction, confusion, and uncertainty. So we know that all that's out there. We know that. But what we're calling in is that disciplined part of you that knows who you are and what you want. Like I said, once we reset the Aries, you're going to know that. But it won't be till a little later in the spring, summertime. And so choosing your path and committing to it, we're there now. Post-COVID is over. Let's figure it out. We got to figure out how to function at this new level, whatever it is. Energy and motivation, being, again, proactive of your energy in, energy out. How does that balance work so that you're not pouring out from an empty cup? Being proactive on your own behalf, courage, clarity, and discernment, alert, awake, and vital. I mean, the warrior's in their body. That's another thing. There's so much out here trying to get you out of your body. Food and pharmaceuticals are dumbing and numbing and all kinds of things on us. So the more we can clear that out to be a pure channel, to hear your spirit team when they're talking to you, it's time to make an action move. I know for me, I can't go against it. If spirit says move, I'm moving. I don't care if it makes sense to so-and-so. You start to learn to trust it because you're going to be right more than you're wrong with your spirit team. They're always going to be, but they've been right all the time for me. Being mindful, intuitive, and instinctive, right? Again, with that feeling what's necessary and then handling business. No hesitation, no doubt, confidence, faith, integrity, knowing your identity and purpose. This is what we're clarifying this go round. And so you've got some time to work with it. Like I said, 9 months of release work to clear out what's no longer your identity so that you can bring forth that new one. Strategy, plans, and tactics. This is another one. I know a lot of my people can fly by the seat of their pants, but we need a little bit more of a strategy. And this really hit home for me personally today because as an elder, you start to realize you have to be more mindful of your digital world, right? If you don't work those boundaries a certain kind of way, the systems will take advantage of you. So that's another thing we do at a Venus retrograde, because she does rule our money and resources, is check your auto pays, go through and do an audit basically of all your bills and everything that you're pouring out, and make sure that that's still what you want to be investing in. And this is the time to reset and reclaim it. Clear, strong boundaries, of course, adaptable, flexible, and present, self-sufficient, strong, and capable, train, practice, and prepare. Again, we can't just roll out and think it's going to work. We kind of have to prepare now to make sure we get the outcomes that we're going for. And being direct, decisive, and skilled is, again, when you master your inner warrior and you're clear, that full engagement with life. I think if we are in our bodies and we're feeling strong, like in Aries, Aries is the athlete. You want to feel strong and capable and like your body supports you, because we do joke about that too. The mind plays tricks on you, but the body never lies. So we need to listen to our bodies along the way as well. That embodiment, power, and accuracy is part of being the warrior. Dedication to a greater cause. A lot of times we can tie our smaller goals to some bigger goals, right? So I love what I do. I love teaching the cycles and teaching about the planets. But Yeye has a big global vision that I'm willing to contribute to. But like I said, I'm the individual server where she's like a world server. And that fierce loyalty and commitment, we are recalibrating all that as well. And so in your guide, all the different bullets lists and everything that we're going to go through is in here. We're releasing the rebel for the sage. That is also, letting go of self-sabotage and resistance, which is a little shadow Aries, so that we can reclaim integrity, wisdom, and power, which will be on the Capricorn side. This is a huge reset that we can do consciously. So again, I want to pause, see if there's any questions. How's everybody doing? How are we doing?
I have a question, Kelly.
I hear someone.
This is Kim. So, question, did I hear you? I was listening and writing at the same time. Did you mention when Venus contacts Pluto and when Venus contacts Saturn, we need to be more something? I turned to the back of my book and went to the conjunctions, but I wanted to make sure I got that.
Say it one more time. I'm sorry, baby.
Yes, you had mentioned right before you got into the light and shadow, you had given us kind of a warning of when Venus contacts, I think you said.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I have a PDF for that too, y'all, if I can include it. When she touches Saturn and Pluto, it's kind of serious. When she touches your Saturn, it activates you to do deeper assessments. It's like a reality check is what we call it. and you start thinking harder about your relationships and your finances, and is this worth it and is that worth it? So Saturn makes us very serious, and that's why you don't really want to be around anyone else. You need to be alone to do those personal assessments. Like, do I still value this? Is this still a priority, really? And then with Pluto, it's transformation, and you just got to be ready for a soul level activation and for something a little deeper, and for you to be a little too deep for certain people. It gets like that too. And then I say, if she hits your Neptune, it's boundary time to be thinking about the boundaries, or creative time for you artists. When Venus gets with Jupiter, it expands things and brings benefits. But when she gets with Neptune, it creates this artistic vibe, and all this creativity comes through your imagination. And then Uranus, you got to be ready for change. If she touches your Uranus, she's ready to shake things up, either in your relationships or your resources. Is that what you meant, Kim?
That's exactly what I meant. I'm on my conjunction page and just wrote a lot of notes.
Okay, good girl. Cinnamon, you look like you want to maybe say hi. You want to drop in a little Mars juju right now?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you want the Mars stuff to come in.
Yeah. Crystal, do you have a question before Cinnamon goes?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So, piggybacking off of that last question, what are the planets that we should look out for in scheduling, like the parties and presentations?
Yeah, whatever your Sun and Mercury are, and your Venus and Mars, when she gets anywhere near them, it kind of activates your glow, your inner glow, and it helps you, again, lock in on what you want to radiate out there.
Thank you.
No problem. Great. Cinnamon has been sitting in, she's my resident body person who helps us stay in our bodies and brings it back with exercises. And she will be in the Venus circle with us again as we move through the primary chakras. But Mars is a big part of, like I said, it's backwards. It's resetting in Cancer, Leo, which is self-love and self-care and very personal. And Mars is who you are and what you want. So it's almost like Venus is in Mars's sign, and they're related. It's going on here. So Cinnamon, how you feeling? Come introduce yourself and say hi.
Yeah, hello. I've been doing astrology since 2016, so I'm a baby and I don't know anything. But I've been doing the embodiment thing my whole life. I have a degree in exercise science and another one in nutrition, and have continued all the embodiment things, like somatic exercising, all kinds of embodiment stuff. And I'm actually also a sex worker. So when I say body, I mean body. I do the work in the physical. And that is really important. You know what, Kelly, when you're talking about Venus rules Taurus, and Pisces and the whole Venus cycle is really internal. Like that's all on the inside. Where Venus, we're doing the inside things. But when she hits Taurus, she's talking about your actual, like, how much money do you have in the bank? What does your house look like? But there is a step in between. How do you go from, it's all in here, to tangible, like I got the phone in my hand? That's Mars. Mars is the energy that says, okay, here's the actions we've got to take. This is the plan we have to have. This is the discipline we have to have. This is the passion and the desire we have to follow that fuels each step that we take. This year in particular is actually a huge Mars year because of
interactions.
All of the outer planets are moving into Aries. Mars rules Aries. We are having a total paradigm shift. Oh, and by the way, Kelly, you're 100% right about telepathy. Y'all go listen to the telepathy tapes. It's a podcast. It proves telepathy is real. It's a real ass thing. We are 100% moving into that. Which, by the way, I'm a seer, both in this lifetime and previous lifetimes, and that's an ancestral inheritance. Plenty of you on here can also attest that that stuff is real. So anyway, it's moving into the collective awareness in a way that, like, we all get to say, I told you so. Sorry, there's a petty part of me and I love her. So back to Mars. The reason that there is such a huge emphasis on him this year, because all those bigger outer planets are moving in. And when the big planets move into Aries, they pack them all up. It's big. But here's the thing. We all know this. The masculine has been fucked for a long time, thousands of years. We're not just talking about, like, since we've been alive, right? We've been watching. And this year is the year where Mars, the masculine, they get their shit together or they don't. And that's within us too, right? Like we got to be looking at how do we take action. And Mars has been retrograde in Cancer and Leo. So we've been looking at why we take action the way we do, meaning what in our childhoods.
What motivates you?
Right. Like what made us do the things the way we do them? So I'm talking about like, why are we codependent, for example? That would be the kind of stuff we've been looking at with Mars retrograde in Cancer. He goes direct in 3 days. So in 3 days, Mars is coming out of his backwards motion. We probably all been crying and sad, and our inner child's been up for a while, and he's moving forward and he's moving into Leo. And this whole cycle, what we are doing is recalibrating our masculine as he moves through each sign, along with the Venus cycle. So all of our insides are going to have new values, priorities. We're going to be looking at all kinds of stuff for ourselves. But that warrior archetype is Mars. And we are updating our warrior archetype. We are updating as Mars is going through every single one of these zodiac signs. And like I said, Mars is the planet of action and the body. So my contribution to this is always going to be, here's your journal questions for Mars. Here's your body exercises to be doing. Those are not negotiable. We still got to be in our body. I don't care if telepathy is the new thing. If you don't remember to feed yourself, you're screwed. If you don't move your body, if you do not get off the computer screen and back into nature, we're not doing it. I will be the one, I'm going to be the one that's saying, hey, this month's exercises are. So I give you journal, the exercise prompts, and then also the energy, because I read energy. So I will always be giving you some kind of like, hey.
She's very clean channel, y'all. She brings it real.
Yeah, and it'll be the practices. So like those boundary practices and whatever we need in that moment, because everything for me is real time. Yeah, it's all real time. So that's the piece that I bring, which is it supports Venus. And in my world, the masculine supports the feminine. The masculine could make
I was going to say that too. Yeah. We go into the Venus to feel what's necessary, and our Mars carries it out.
Carries it out. Exactly.
Right. It's the part of us that can negotiate on our own behalf, get our ideas in the world, and hold good boundaries. So we need both. And over the years, I was saying earlier how I work this Venus cycle over and over. I'm just bringing that in to make people get present to we need both. You know, we really need to. And especially with a world full of masculine patriarchy nonsense, we have to define what healthy masculine looks like, what a real man looks like, and all that, you know. So thank you, baby girl.
Yeah, on a heads up, man, the manosphere, I don't know if y'all heard of that, but that's a thing, and that's getting rattled. The manosphere lives on the internet, lives in the ethers. And Pluto and Aquarius is everything in the ethers. It's AI, it's all that shit, because it's all that air. So that's us, like keeping an eye on that toxic stuff, putting it down where we need to, protecting ourselves where we need to for this whole cycle, because that's what the warrior does, right?
Yeah. And then maybe real quick before I let you go, talk to them about you and your Venus book and Release and Reclaim and how it's worked for you.
Yeah, okay. So y'all, this is a lot of information. The first time I did the Venus cycle, I was like, Kelly, I can't breathe. And I don't know what you said. And I know astrology. I'm familiar. And the first time I still was like, holy shit, woman. So what I did, if you're new to this, what I did was I'd listen to the calls live sometimes if I had it in me. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I'd go back and all I did was the journaling, and then I'd go listen to the call and I'd be like, oh, everything Kelly said was going to happen happened. I was on time even if I wasn't there. So that's really important to know, especially if the Venus cycle is new to you, because it's a lot, but it is also an incredible way to kind of get a handle on our lives, which are a lot. I don't know about you all, but sometimes I'm like, are you for real? Like that.
Every day is a new something. But that's why I love her, because she helps keep me, like I said, focused where I need to be on what's really important. And a lot of extraneous can't really get in. And then, Kimberly, you want to come and testify? Because this is what we do. We have a once a month check-in. We look at the sign and the chakra. We have stories and archetypes that guide us in different divinations. And I do have some divinations for tonight, y'all. Oh, wait, I'm getting too happy over here. So we do have divinations for our guidance that's really juicy. You'll also get them in a PDF in the post-call goodies. But normally we have a once a month check-in with the overview. You get to look at your own activations, which is what Venus is touching in your world. Kimberly, you coming up? And then we do the call for community. So you could get your reading and book and be good to go. But community is pretty juicy. y'all. Come on up, Kimberly. Hey, beautiful. You've been looking so good lately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that yes, I use my book in reverse, and as you know, I also journal the numerology. So I do the numerology and the Venus cycle all together. I look even today. Today is 22225, which I think is perfect for a Venus call because it's all about relationships, balance, and change. And so I'm real big into okay, what things, like I said, everything you said, Cinnamon. I'm like this. I live Mars Cancer. I'm like this was a retrospective. I was thinking, okay, why am I acting that way in relationships? I wrote some journal prompts for myself today based on the numbers, and it was what am I learning about relationships that is transforming the way I deal with relationships or even my relationship with myself. And so definitely 100% going with the Venus cycle and relationships and all that kind of stuff. And Mars retrograde, I even had an ex try to pop up. But anyway, that's a whole nother
Yeah,
thing.
baby. Yes, all y'all be on blast. Venus retrograde every time somebody from the past pops up. So just get ready. But Kimberly, also talk a little bit about release and reclaim and how that works.
So for release and reclaim, for me, as far as me doing it for journal prompts, I really go through and I look and I kind of journal, like I open right to the page. I journal it. Oh my goodness. So
But
even
now
like
that
that,
you've followed a few cycles, you've got the rhythm now, and you can feel
yes.
how parts of you go away and then new parts come out and then certain things go away and you come to these new levels every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and
Yes.
I've witnessed her growth. I love getting to
Yes.
witness my baby. Thank you, baby. So yeah, this is the introduction to the cycle, like I said, that lets everyone know what's happening. Your post-call goodies will say where it is for you. Now, the divinations, I feel like we should look at these too, because these are too juicy. So our divinations, I went to the I Ching this time, y'all, which I haven't done in a long time. Basically, what I asked was guidance for navigating Venus retrograde in Aries, and then also Pisces. Let's see if I can zip through these really quickly. Guidance for navigating the direct. So basically we did retrograde one and direct another. And for those of you who don't know, the I Ching is a conduct oracle. You ask how to proceed, what to do, how that works. And again, this PDF will be in your post-call goodies. For navigating the retrograde in Aries, we got number 52, changing to number 7. I know Kimberly's going to love these numbers. And it's bound or stilling, changing into legions and leaders. So I found these little graphics and just played around. I hope you all like them, but we're releasing bound energy eventually by spring, right? So right now we're still gathering. Calm, still, stabilize. These are the keywords to bind or fix, come to a limit or boundary, articulating your experiences, becoming an individual, and the sacrificer. So the reason I like this particular one, which is by Stephen Karcher, it's called The Total I Ching, Myths for Change, is because he's got a shaman speaks and the scholar speaks. And I feel like I'm a little bit of both. So the overview, I took out the highlights because it can be pretty dense and it's a lot. But we want to recognize, limit, or coming to the end of a cycle, which we are, the end of 18 months, the end of 8 years. Calm yourself, quiet your body. Do not try to advance just yet. Again, Mars is just about to go forward, but it's still got a shadow to get through. Still your personality, so it is not caught up in compulsive actions. Again, being conscious about the moves you're making, auditing certain things, making sure you're clear. Move through your life as if the people you normally recognize were not there. That was a hard one, boy. Woo. Then the scholar speaks, you can't stir things up forever. You must also stop them. Bound means stopping. Stopping means stabilizing. When the time comes to an end, stop. When time moves, move. And that's something else I've been doing with my energy. When I have energy, I work. When I don't, I hang back a little. Do not get your personality entangled in things. By moving through life as if people were not there, you will free yourself. So this is part of that Aries independence thing as well. Do it yourself. Don't wait on nobody. Don't ask for permission. Do what you got to do. The shaman speaks and says mountain limits and articulates what is complete in order to suggest what is beginning. So again, we're on that cusp of Pisces Aries, which is constant endings, new beginnings, which we're going to be going through the whole year because of all these other planets that are on the cusp of Pisces Aries. Closing the cycle of seasons, turn within and ponder your own nature, as well as the nature of fate and spirit. Work through joyous words to bring spirit to expression. So again, with working with your ancestors and your spirit team, critically important. Now that was bounding the specific instructions. So if you know the I Ching, they're what's called changing lines, and they come with specific instructions. Release bound energy. You can still learn to listen and respond. Take this opportunity to stop running after impossible desires. Okay, I don't know about y'all, but I've wanted a lot of dreams for a long time that finally manifested, but they took so long, I don't even want it anymore. It's crazy. So that's another reason to check in with your desires and what you really, really want at this time and what's really important to you at this time. Renovate a corrupt situation. So any kind of relationship, again, if you stayed in a house, a job, a community, anything for 8 years or more, you might want to think about what's happening. If you let yourself be led, you can realize hidden potential. Again, with honoring your spirit team, right? The situation is already changing. That's another thing. We got to keep up. You are cutting yourself in two, separating yourself from real and legitimate desires. Okay, sometimes that Pisces fears and phobias or poor boundaries, so we get overwhelmed, can keep us from legitimate things we want to do. The acrid smoke from this repression smothers your heart. Deep breath. You do not have to make this sacrifice. It won't help anyone, least of all you. Strip away old ideas. Be open and provide what is needed. Meet people with generosity, honesty, and care, and you will receive it in return, Ashe. This is the end of your isolation. You have learned what you need to face your new life, and the way is open. You cannot help others who are on the same course. Though this makes your heart ache, still yourself. Do not fail to heed this call. Deep breath, y'all. Okay, so that was legions. So where we were releasing bound energy with this graphic, now we're releasing transformative energy. So legions or leader. So here's the other thing about the I Ching. The first one tells you where you are presently, whereas the second one is what it's going to evolve into. So this is what it's going to evolve into on the Aries side. Organize, mobilize, and lead, because Aries is related to our leadership. All our fire signs are related to leadership. Armies and soldiers. Oh, I think I was going to talk about this earlier, how soldiers fight together, but warriors fight alone. And again, with that Aries individual part of you, we've got to sort of play with that idea and concept. Discipline and power, master craftsman, martial arts master, site of creative transformation. So here we have the overview message says, organize a heap of things into functional units so you can take effective action. Organize yourself and put yourself in order. First law of the universe is order, y'all. Come on, let's get organized. Create order and develop the capacity to lead. Again, if it's what you want and it's what you care about, you're going to have to lead with it. Look at the people you respect and use them as models. Find who and what you need. So if you don't have a community, you want to create a community. Obviously, you can join our community. And release transformative energy. It is not a mistake to use force to bring order, protect those who cannot protect themselves, and defend what is necessary for people to live their lives. This energy is up, inside, outside, upside down. It's what time it is. The scholar speaks, have an inner willingness to take more calculated risks, okay, not crazy risks, but calculated risks can work. Something significant is returning, that part of you, that true part of you. Be open to it. It will take care and attention to correct disorder, dis-ease, and discord, okay? So we need care and attention. And again, while we're backstage, while things are going backwards or slowing down is what they're really doing up there. They're slowing us down to turn within. Any planet that goes backwards, any of them, it turns the energy inward and we get to focus on ourselves a little bit. Accumulate and nourish undeveloped potentials. Don't simply impose your will. Okay, so don't be in a rush, don't be impatient, don't force things, but allow that proper development, which is another Pisces Aries combo. Find what you need by taking risks and confronting obstacles through a desire to serve. Again, think bigger than you. Anything that you're doing that is going to benefit the community automatically benefits you. So you don't even have to think about that. The shaman says accumulate support through toiling for the common good. Again, working together with those for bigger vision. A lot of times, even if you're activating your inner artist, you need to collaborate. A lot of artists don't do good at business. So I say collaborate with a business person. But there's ways that your skill set brought together with another skill set can create some magic where there wasn't that energy before. Now, there's the other thing. So we had 52 changing into 7 for the Aries side of this work we're doing. Now, again, do we have any questions? Is anything happening? The time frame for these, this is guidance for our retrograde period. So I'm going to say for now, between now and May, if that makes sense. This is all the Aries guidance. Now we're moving to the Pisces side of guidance, where she's going direct in Pisces. And we got number 1 changing to 14, which is inspiring force, changing to great being. And there's a whole dragon thing going on that I love. So we want to bring together what belongs together. Let's think about that. So the keywords are creative energy, persist, create, endure, dynamic, enduring, power to guide and inspire, protection of the ancestors, the key, the male sexual organ, a gate of change, and a primal seed. The overview says, activate the primal power of spirit to create and destroy. You are in contact with a fundamental energy that can help you confront obstacles. Okay, so this is your spirit team. This is your Orishas. This is your ancestors. Take action and be dynamic, strong, untiring, tenacious, and enduring. Ooh, deep breath. Your situation contains great creative potential, that's real, to open a new cycle of time. That's real too. The scholar speaks, bring together what belongs together. What you create can be the source of a deep and self-renewing peace of mind. We like self-renewing, y'all. Oh my goodness. Spirit power is available to you. Use it as a source of strength and determination. The end brings a new beginning, Ashe, and an opportunity to accomplish something. The way of force is to change and transform things. So when we're directing our Mars energy, that force energy out into the world to get things done, we want to be able to do that in a clean way. But we also, like I said, we don't want to make any big moves before May, let's say. And if you have to, I know we can't stop for the planets. If you have to make some big moves before May, then you just got to check, recheck, and double check all the details and everyone involved and make sure that you follow up and follow through on every little thing. That's the only way to deal with things if you have to still function under a retrograde. Make the innate spirit within each being manifest. So again, we're doing this soul to soul connection, communication, kinship, that's possible when we can feel each other. This protects the great harmony of the world, so take advantage of it. Use this creative energy to produce ideas that inspire people and give them models of transformation. That's another thing. Western culture doesn't deal with certain changes in death, rebirth, and transformation. Now, we must have had a lot for this one. I had to go to a whole nother page. Now we have the shaman speaks and the specific instructions. The force of the dragon, the spark of yang, born in the center of the yin, so the masculine within the feminine. The dynamic tension of this great energy binds opposing forces together. So we're also in this balance and integration zone that we're working with as well. Destroy old forms and create enduring new relationships. So again, renegotiate with those closest to you. Use the power of the origin to revitalize and invigorate your creative efforts. So it's like, get back to your essence, get back to your true self, right? The specific instructions give us different timelines with the season. I thought this was fascinating. Midwinter, the situation feels confused and uncertain, so don't move yet. The creative energy is still underwater, but will emerge soon. Think Pisces, Aries too. Have no doubts, because you are coupled with a creative force, Ashe. Now comes early spring. Creative energy emerges and you have the ability to manifest now. Bring people together and give them a goal. That's going to be huge this year. Like I said, take point when and where you can and lead. Take the advice of a trusted elder, those who connect you to great spirits. Trust what is great inside yourself, Ashe. Turn your back on the past and commit yourself to the new. Don't look back on certain things. Make your way step by step and find supportive people along the way. Again, as you choose to move in a new direction, as you choose new values, your frequency shifts, you start to magnetize different kinds of people along the way. Gather energy for a decisive new move. That's getting ready. Late spring, creative energy emerges from the heart center. Even though you're dealing with big issues, do not lose your playful spirit. That's another thing. Aries is the infant on the karmic wheel. We get to rebirth all of it, even that joyful, youthful spirit. Joy is the key to creation in this situation, Ashe. So don't let them kill your joy out here, y'all, because ain't no purpose in being here in this body to have this physical experience on this earthly beauty and all that's possible and have it crushed by an idea or a concept or something outside of us. Accumulate small things to build the great. So baby steps. Again, prepare yourself for movement, prepare for forward motion, prepare for dealing with more people or being known for something new. Because again, we're going to recalibrate. First, we're going to recalibrate what we present to the world. And then we're going to go inward and month by month start stripping things down. Accumulate small, turn conflict into creative tension. Okay, we can play with some of these things. I tell people, especially in astrology, squares are challenges to grow out of your comfort zone into new territory. It doesn't have to be good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just change, and we have to move or make a decision. Midsummer comes, let your creative power emerge and build something enduring. Early fall comes and the creative cycle is ending. Do not keep pushing it this time. Resolve to do better. In the transitional time, this brings an important change and creative energy is now more available to you. I thought that was interesting. I've never seen them break down with seasons. So that was changing to 14. Number one was changing to 14, which is the great being. This is a time of creative abundance. So the keywords are a great idea, great power to realize, share your wealth, moon cult, concentration, wealth abundance, great results, great achievements. The bright presence is being revealed and the site of creative transformation. So the overview says, make a great offering and share with others. Develop a central idea to acquire great abundance and prosperity. So develop your own central idea. This is something else I talk to people as you're coming into your own unique genius and you're making your offerings to the world. There should be a base, right? So like my base would be astrology and cycles and patterns, but I can break out and I can take my cycles and patterns and collaborate with a Reiki master or any other kind of healing modality because cycles and patterns come into play with everything else we do. So you want to have that central idea that can grow legs out of it. Let's think about what that might be. Concentrate your energies in one place and share the fruits of your effort. So we're going to be generous like Oshun. Focus on a single idea and impose a direction on things. Again, by leading and choosing and having things imposed upon you. Because here's the thing, if you can't take care of yourself and you can't handle your business, somebody's going to come along to impose something on you. And none of us like that. Be noble and magnanimous. This can be a continuing source of fertility and excellence, and it is pleasing to the spirits, Ashe. Through it, they will give you success, effective power, and the capacity to bring the situation to maturity, which we also want. The scholar speaks and says, you have access to a concentrated force that spreads brightness and warmth. This is a time of creative abundance. You can gather crowds around you and convert them to your ideas. Firmly check hatred in order to bring out what is virtuous and usable. Can't do anything. Rage to outrage. Rage is paralyzing and usually causes more trouble and more problems. Outrage is mobilizing. You're so upset you want to do something about it. So you want to check that at the door. Yield to and work with the spirits so you can let go of your own limits, Ashe. What is flexible and adaptable has the ability to give honor to things. Make your ideas the center of attention, and what is above and below will respond to it. Yes, indeed. You can realize the way through firm persistence, brighten and beautify to connect to the right time to do things. Again, we're going into our feeling nature about right timing for you, the individual. And then the shaman speaks and says, great inspiration from within spreads brightness, warmth, and beauty. Check your negative emotions in order to support positive change. So that's another shadow of Pisces, is those negative emotions, shame, blame, and guilt, the emotions that overwhelm us and things like that. So what did we think of the I Ching, y'all? Anybody? Did it ring any bells?
This is Elder Harriet, and
Yes, Alafia.
that Alafia, this disorder, scholar speaks, disorder, disease,
Mm,
discord.
mm.
It was like, oh, and make no big moves before May. And, I'm looking at the physical environment and the larger environment, and these things are occurring. And so to move forward, I have to either put order to things or know how to move through this disorder, this disease and
Mm.
discord
Protected.
in a way that is empowering, that is enlightening, and enables me to do what I'm here to do on a whole nother level. I am an Aries, my son is a Pisces. So, all of this stuff is like, ooh,
I can
wee.
feel it. Okay. Oh my God. Yes, honey, that is it. And we're all getting that graduation to the next level. And like I said, we're coming out of this Leo cycle where we had to get back to the heart of things, but now Aries wants to actually do it and activate, So here we go. I'm so grateful for you being here. Thank you, Mom. Yes, thank you, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Cinnamon?
I had to throw this in. I think I've said it on previous calls, but it totally fits in with the warrior here. When we're figuring out, okay, what is it that we're going to do? A client actually said this to me. She said, like, the hill I will die on is, and then fill in the blank. But it was that phrase where I was like, the hill that I would die on. Like, what really is so important to me that I would actually die on this hill?
What are you willing to fight for now? Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
No, and it's fight, and like it's what you can't stop talking about. It's like what people are like, could you please? You already told me about this 3 times. Like it's that. Because for the longest time, I would read something like that from the I Ching and just be like, I don't fucking know, and it would just feel overwhelming. But to have a clarifying,
The
phrase.
bullets that worked for you?
Yeah, the bullets
Okay,
and then the
good.
concept, just that the way my client said it, she's like, the hill I would die on is women's rights and people having honored deaths. And I was like, that's damn specific.
Those are at the top of our list. Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Yeah, so I love the I Ching. I mean, sometimes it gets a little.
That's why I said it's kind of dense sometimes, but there's so many different versions. You can find one that you resonate. Like I found a feminine one and I found a Christian one. I found the all kinds of different I Chings. So I have like the masculine and feminine and all in between. But I like the scholar and the shaman too.
Yeah, I like both. I did like both of those. That was really, that was good.
All right. Anyone else want to testify or ask a question? Because we're winding down after Gemini. Oh, we didn't talk about was those activations. Let me run through those real quick. I'll put that back up so you can see what I'm talking about. The activations that Venus is going to do while she's retrograde is really important and rare and special and amazing. Oh my God. So this one, while she's in Pisces, she is going to square off with Jupiter. Now, here's one of the things. Let me look at my own notes. Hold on. I'll do better with my own notes, but this is in the PDF, so you all will be able to see this later. So what I'd like to look at too, to alert you all, because like I said, these are the energies happening in the sky that are affecting everyone. And then you'll get your personal, and that'll say something different. So what I like to look at before and after something's happening, I like to see that first thing or last thing they do before they go in. So squaring off with Jupiter is the first thing. And then there's a couple days before she goes into anything else. So this initial entree into retrograde activation says we are changing the story. We're redreaming the story we want to tell at this time as it relates to our relationships and finances and things like that, but also our kinfolk and communities and the connection to humanity and beauty and essence and the things that make being here worth it, right? So Jupiter's expanding the vision in Gemini. And while Venus is in Pisces, that sensitive part of us is going, okay, how do we integrate all these new ideas and possibilities? How do I facilitate that expansion without going into overwhelm? So let's definitely keep that on the back burner as something that's kind of happening in the background, and know that when it comes out and she hits Taurus and she's done with Pisces, Aries altogether, the very first thing she does is squares off with Pluto. So we know that we're going to be reborn after this as well. It's a rebirthing kind of thing. It's shedding a skin. We're going to a new level. The most important ones are when she hits Saturn, Neptune, and the sun contact. So the way that I'm looking at this is that the North Node is a 20-year cycle of your life path and direction on the cusp of Pisces, Aries. Then we have Saturn, a 30-year cycle of reality and purpose, your roles and responsibilities that have run their course, no matter how old you are. But obviously, younger you are, then maybe you don't have as much to track. But at the same time, you know that things are ending. You know there's a real culmination to how you're going to have to move through 3D on some level. And then we have the 165-year cycle of Neptune, which rules our spirituality and our connection to all that is and our imagination and all this good juju, but it also creates murky waters and confusion and delusion and illusions. It can affect our boundaries, which is why that's going to be so critical throughout, right? So we are resetting, we're calling in, let's say, if we just look at Venus and Mars, this little 18 months to 2 years, stay there if that's what's most comfortable for you. But know that this 2 years is anchoring 20, 30, 50 with Chiron and 165 years. So it's deep. You know, it's like I said, it's inner and outer evolutions that we're doing right now. And so what I say is now set your intention, co-create. Go to your Orishas. I'm supposed to be working on a class with me and Yeye about planets and Orisha, but I believe Saturn is associated with Ogun. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still learning myself. Neptune, I don't even know. I know Jupiter's Obatala. So you can go into other systems, let's say, and still look at this information from other angles, and you're going to probably still come up with the same thing. That you get to call in a new reality that is of your own making, is of your definition. And we are the ancestors of the future. So we are living on a cusp time of an age being reborn as well. We're watching the end and the beginning of something. So the best thing to do is kind of like what Elder Harriet said, is we've got to stay on focus of what's most important. And I say, may we be invisible to the authorities unless or until we need them. May we slip through these gigantic cracks in this system that doesn't serve us anyway, and be invisible and unscathed, and just do your best to call those shields up and to make good choices in the moment, because that's what it's going to boil down to, is when you are ready to take action or make moves, that they are rooted in your self-worth and what you know to be right for you, the individual, that right timing, right action thing. But in between all that, we have an opportunity to change some things with Uranus and Taurus. We have some ease and grace while she's in Pisces with Mars and Cancer. Now they're both in water signs, and we're still having to go deeper into emotions that we would probably usually push away and be like, I ain't got time for this right now. But if we don't deal with some of them, they come out other ways, right? So if we don't disagree, people assume we agree. So if you don't speak up, something might get lost in translation. So be clear about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and know that it's still backstage resetting. And the big one that actually kicks off the cycle is right around spring equinox, March 22nd, Venus connects with the sun. Now, she only does this twice in the whole 18 months. And that's why we start out with a focus on the outer self and what we present to the world. And then we go within and we go month by month. So this is the kickoff of the 9 months of release work. And again, whether you do it with us or whether you follow along or not, you're still going to feel it, where different aspects of self over the next 9 to 10 months, come January, you're going to be ready for something new, and you're going to want to get it started, and you're going to be able to start putting the pieces into place. But you want to think about, I always instruct my people to do one tangible goal and one essence goal. So there's, what do you want to be able to measure in 9 and 18 months? And we do check in at the midpoint. Midpoints are the best course correcting times in any cycle. So we love that. And again, with setting your intention, on these days that things happen, I'm trying to see where we're at. We're in 220. So a lot of the first hits have already happened, but she's going to hit them 3 times over. So the second hits are coming soon. And then that final hit is when you move forward on it. So we are supported to call in a new reality, to tell a new story, to live into a new narrative based on these new values. And we are supported to create our communities, kind of small and large, right? Whatever you need to function, have your people, like there's the inner circle, and then there's the main circle, and then there's the acquaintances and people out there on the edge. And know who your people are so that you all can communicate and rely on each other, and start thinking about your backups, because another, my Kelly opinion about war and the things that we're going into, because it's coming, is going to be a lot on the digital technology side of things. It may not be like the old days. It's going to be a new kind of war on our minds and on our technology. And so that's where you have to be your most vigilant and most clear about what's important to you and where your values are, and be like, I got to draw the line here. So let me get a thumbs up if you all want that PDF that tells you when Venus touches your planets, what it's like. I think does everybody want to see that? Okay. So I'll include that with the divinations and the intro that we looked like, just these little slides basically, and then the link to the replay and whatnot. All that'll go in the post called goodies. Rahima, you're here. Hey baby, come on.
Hi, thanks, Kelly. I was just wondering, could you maybe just touch on Mercury also going to
Oh yeah,
retrograde?
Mercury's doing it too, y'all, on the cusp of Pisces Aries. So is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because it's going to be overlapping with
Yes.
Venus. And I was
Changing
just
our minds.
wondering.
Yes, we're changing all three.
Okay.
And also on that Pisces Aries cusp. So this year, Mercury's retrograding through water and fire. So on one hand, that's giving us access to unbelievable creativity and possibilities with our ideas and things, and a beautiful kind of flow that's possible where if you go back over old ideas that you maybe set aside and see if they have any life force or chi left in them, and maybe bring them back, or just brand new ideas that are coming out. But when Mercury retrogrades, that's going to be kind of the icing on the cake at the end. Mars did it, then Venus did it, then Mercury does it. So basically we have to change how we do our choices and actions first. Then we change our values and priorities, and then we change our thinking and ideas and go forward. So there is an order to that, right? So thinking about your masculine, how you get anything done, that gets reset on the self-care, self-love zone of Cancer, Leo, which is very personal. How you feel about certain things and how you shine your light and how you share your essence and your energy. All of that is tied up with the Mars in Cancer, Leo that's getting reset. And for those of us old enough, Mars retrogrades every 2 years, but the last time it hit Cancer, Leo like this and lingered, it was the 80s. So we do have these late 80s, early 90s cycles that are back. It's a lot, y'all. I get it. But at the same time, we're getting to really claim, I don't know about y'all, but COVID really got me clear about priorities and what's important and where I need to be and how I need to let my energy, move, and what's right or wrong for my energy field. And now I don't even think we have to ask permission. Like, my favorite thing about COVID was the 6-foot rule. I love it. Stay 6 feet back and we'll all be better. Now we don't even have to apologize. Just back up off me. You're in my energy field. I don't like that. We can choose going forward. That's the blessing that comes out of all that madness, is that we get to choose who we deal with now and who we get close to and who we spend time with in a way that we maybe used to go along to get along to go along. That ain't happening no more. That's just over. That's over. Just like the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, all of that's over. So we get to claim a new vision and make it up ourselves, because I also say, if nothing's in place, anything is possible. So we want to call in that vision that you see for equality and justice and food and shelter and basics. Oh, that's another thing in my Neptune article. You all will see that eventually, is that the two things coming back with the Neptune and Pisces cycle of 165 years was in the late 1800s. The Salvation Army was created because, just like what's happening now with, at least in America, there's getting to be a bigger gap between the haves and have-nots, and middle class is getting blown up. And back then it was happening too. And they wouldn't let poor people into the churches. They didn't want people who didn't have what everybody else had over here. So they wanted people to have dignity and have basic food and shelter, and to find ways to stay independent. But we had to go into that Pisces altruistic service mode to create something like that. But also, guess what else was born? The KKK. And here we are with them waking up again. And so we want to squash that in our energy work of not reliving, not doing a repeat, not doing it that way. And we ain't doing it that way. We don't have to do it that way. There are other options that we can call in, and we may have to appeal ancestor to ancestor, like, y'all need to calm down. This is not how we're going to roll. At the same time, we know that those people have never addressed their ancestors, so they're restless. And those people have never addressed their issues, so they're crazy, they're upset, So there's a lot of this blindness that goes on. It's like with Pisces, it's you hurt my feelings, and Aries, I want to fight. It goes straight from you hurt my feelings to I want to knock you out. And so we got to find new responses, y'all. We got to create new response. We got to practice with they're not going to be right out the gate. We're going to have to practice. It's not going to be easy, but the more you learn what works for you that you can share along the way, then the better that'll go. So yes, what we got in the chat. Yay, many thanks. Thank you all. Yes, yes, yes. So we want to work with your team, whatever they call it, these forces of nature all throughout. Absolutely. And they work to our benefit when we're conscious and when we direct them consciously. And we can do that. We can protect ourselves. I've seen it. I have another Kellyism is to let your higher self filter everything first. And then certain things don't even come into your field. So that's letting your Ori do all the work. You handle that. Let me know. If it needs my attention, bring it to me. If it doesn't, keep it away from me. And the other thing that helped me a lot going through crazy in the social collective is when I did live in Florida, I could be driving down the street and have blue skies and cumulus clouds. And across the street was black clouds, rain, storms, thunder, lightning. And I was like, whoa, you can know the storm's going on. You can see it. But if you're not in it, don't take your body through that. Don't put yourself through that, because it's not happening to you. And we're all kind of empathic and psychic and intuitive, so we feel what's going on. Oh, thank you, Cinnamon, for that reminder. And yes, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell y'all about the new class with Yeye. So let me put that link in there. Anyone that wants to join us Saturday for the Art of Altar Building. What we did is I realized that when we do Cracking the Code or Elements of Ritual in some of Yeye's bigger classes, we can't always go as deep into altar building or the candles, conjure, and colors are going to be next month. The different things that we want to go deeper into. And there are more details that we would love to share with you. So that's going to be this Saturday. And then the next one is March 15th for candles, colors, and conjuring. So either one of those are just kind of one-day workshops that we're doing before the big classes roll out. I think we'll be doing Elements of Ritual at some point going toward the spring. Again, these backwards planets are messing with us too. Every time we get organized, the world goes crazy and then we got to adjust and do something else. So stay with your spirit team, stay on point with those boundaries, clarify who you are and what you want in this new way 8 years later, and reach out directly if you feel called to the reading and the custom guide. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. All right, y'all. We'll get this replay together and I'll probably put you into a little classroom where you can get to it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Peace and love, everyone.